Hi all, it's Kylie from Kylie's Card Craft. Thanks for joining me again today. Ephemera. We're all into it these days. We love it. There's so much beautiful ephemera out there. If you're lucky, you can score originals, but then do we really want to use originals all the time? Once they're used, they're used. I find that I like to copy my originals and then I have them all the time, or I buy kits from Etsy or digital kits also from Etsy, things like that. And they look beautiful, but they don't look old. And I've got some wonderful old ones, but I won't use them. I know, we should use them. But once I've used them, they're gone. I will find that if I've come across something beautiful, I will copy it out. And they're old ones, and I will copy it out, just photocopy it out, use it to my heart's content, and then once I'm finally finished with it or whatever else, and I might hang on to it for a couple of years, and some I will never use, and then I might use the original. But before that, we have all these wonderful things out there these days, and they look beautiful, but they look new. Let's make them look old. So that's what we're going to do today. So here's just a couple, and I'll show you what they look like to start with. Right, so here's this one. I've just printed it out in a larger size this time. So you can see it's gorgeous as it is, but if we make it look old, it gives it that extra story, and I think that's what it's all about. So for me, I imagined that this would have been bought at the pharmacy and done up, and when you undo it, it's all nice and fragile and all the rest. I imagined the little tablets would have been in a little wrapping as well, and the tablets for it would have been in here. So I've done the whole thing right down to the actual gummed pharmacy label, and then I've left it to dry once it's all been stuck down, and then I've torn it away so it looks like it's gone home and been torn off. So, you know, that's what that was. It doesn't take much to do, but it gives them a whole, story would be the right word, I suppose, because, you can imagine that, somebody's gone to get, I don't know, worm confections for their children, and, it says in here, Briggs worm confections are certain death to all internal worms which infest the stomach and bowels of your little ones. They are pleasing to the taste and will be eaten as readily as candy. Mothers, give them to your babes and drive those monsters from their system. You will be rewarded by the rosy cheeks and brilliant eyes which Briggs worm confections are sure to give. So for me, that was a story in itself. It needed to be given the story of somebody going and getting it to give to their children, and then it's gone into a drawer. 50, 60, 100 years later, it's been pulled out. And that's what I wanted to achieve with that. So we're going to do another one of those. Tickets. Now, tickets are huge these days. We can occasionally come across old tickets. Otherwise, when we get tickets these days, what did I just do with that? Hang on. I've got a container with tickets. So some are stamped tickets, some are cut out from scrapbook paper. A lot of them have been, from memory, crafted by Callie, which is an Etsy store. You will have seen me use her stuff before. And I've bought a packet of miscellaneous tickets. But I like to make them look old as well. So, here's another one of hers that we're going to do today. So there's a ticket, and that's what we're going to do to it, so that it's been in your pocket. It may have been through the wash. It's been loved and hung on to while they're waiting to go in the door. So there's that one. These are really popular these days, these little books, okay? But they're all the same. So, we get them everywhere these days, and they're all the same thing, which is beautiful. and I know this one especially I will use lots of, but I don't want it all the same. So here's this ticket, and I've very lightly vintaged it so that now I've got it as a different look, and so it's not as worn as these ones, but it's given it a different look. Same with this one. I've really crumpled up this one. That's these ones. Okay. So that's what I want to do with you all today, and show you how very quickly we can vintage up some ephemera, some new ephemera that we've purchased. So I'm just going to pop those over there. We're going to start with this one. Now, this one, when it first... Now, this comes from... Hang on. Oh. This comes from TaylorMade journals. It is the Pharmacist Set 2. So, it's full of all these sorts of labels. This is the cover sheet to it. I love this because I like using pharmacy labels and all the rest. There's a journal I'm doing at the moment. Hang on. I haven't got far into, but in here, right. See, this is one of these stickers that are around these days, and I've just popped it on with some washi tape, made a pocket on the back, put the whole thing onto some scrapbook paper, but then I've popped one of the labels from the Pharmacist set from TaylorMade journals, and, you know, vintaged it up again so that it looks like it's been stuck on this bottle for a while. So I use these all the time, these sorts of labels and all the rest. So that's TaylorMade journals, the Pharmacist Set 2. That's what this one is. So you can see when you print it out, yes, I could print it out on coffee dyed paper or tea dyed paper, but I like to change things. So I tend to, with all of these, just print them out on normal copy paper, so they haven't been dyed or anything else. They've still got some wonderful colourings through to them. Some of our other ones, here's one ready to go. So it's got this red tinge around it as well. And that way I can change them to what I want. So I've already cut this one out, and that's all I've done with it. Just cut it out and folded it, just to give us a little bit of quickness. And I'm going to use my glass mat for everything, so sorry if it's shining on you, but I like to use my inks just on my glass mat. And my glass mat is filthy at the moment because I've been playing around and doing this journal all week. So what I tend to do to start with, because this is stark white, and it wouldn't still be white. So my Distress Oxide in antique linen, if I can find my blending tool. Now I have a round blending tool for this. You'll notice the two different types. You've got the flat ones, you've got the round ones. The flat ones are great for doing edges. The round ones are great for doing your insides and all the rest. So I'm just inking that up. I don't want a full, even coverage. So I'm literally just rubbing it on. If I've got darker areas, I'm happy with that. And I will change it from there again anyway. So all we're going to do is very quickly just give this some little bit of patchy colour is probably the word that I'm after. A little bit in there. Go for a swirl. All right. So I just wanted some patchy colour like that. I'm going to do a little bit on the front as well. Not much, nowhere near as much, because it's already got a little bit of colour going on the front anyway. It's not that stark white, this one. So antique linens tends to be my base for anything if I am vintaging things. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. If I want to make them look older. Okay, so now I've got that. So with my cloth, which is just a piece of paper towel, just so that I don't mix my colours too much. Sorry, I have a coffee beside me, and so I'm drinking that as I go. My voice is a little bit croaky because I've got a little bit of a head cold, so sorry if I'm too croaky, but that's the other reason why I've got a drink there. Right, so next I will go to my standard, and these are the three colours that I always have in front of me. I find that, so I have antique linen, I have brushed corduroy, and I have gathered twigs, which is a light, a medium, and a dark. There's other ones that you can pop in there, so walnut stone instead of gathered twigs, things like that. But these three tend to sit on my desk all the time, and I find I can do anything with them. I've got all the other colours. They all sit in their little containers beside me, but these are the three that I live with. So, a little bit up from this, and what I'm doing now is just, instead of, you know when we ink things and we do this, what I want to do with this one is I'm just taking it in circles, just slightly around it, because I want a slightly darker edge without just that tip of an edge. Okay, so again, it's nice and blotchy. I don't want, well, blotchy, patchy, you know. I don't want things to look perfect, but I will now do these because this is where it was folded. So it's always going to be darker here where it was folded. It was sitting in the drawer. It was against other things that was chucked in the drawer. Remember to turn it over. Do that other side as well. Okay, and in here. Right, so this needs a little bit. So I'm just going to, what I'm doing now with, so you'll notice each time my hand goes forward, I'm putting a little bit more ink on my blending tool. I don't know if I can move that. I can move that up a little bit so you can see them sitting there, okay? So that's just how I have them sitting there. Am I back in shot now? Yep. And I just have them on a piece of that non-slip mat at the top of my glass mat, and they sit on that, and then as I drag it forward, they won't move. So now I'm just going through and I'm hitting it. Okay, I don't need to do too much to the inside now. I've given it that blotchy look. So what I've done is I'm just giving it some dirtier patches. What I want to do is, it would have been in the drawer. So it's not always going to be kept nice and pristine in the drawer because it was forgotten about. In my mind, it was forgotten about. So I'm just giving it a few crinkles. Okay, so I'm literally, there is no rhyme nor reason to where I'm crinkling these. But now what I want to do is run over with my blending brush again so that it picks up those crinkles. Because if they were in the drawer, they would have been sitting up a little bit, and so they've picked up more dirt and gunk and all the rest than the flat areas that were in here. Okay. So you can see it's starting to get, you know, you can go as much or as little as you like. So this is now starting to get a little bit worn. Look at that. What I like to do then is to give it some age spots, I suppose. You know, we're all getting age spots on our hands, so paper does as well. I use the tea dye and the distress stain. If I'm doing lots of other work as well, I will have a little jar of tea beside me, just a little glass jar, and I'll chuck in 2 or 3 teapot bags, fill it with water, it's only about that high, and I will scrunch it all down, and I'll quite often give myself a give my papers a tea wash. I drink coffee, not tea, so I wouldn't be giving it to myself. Give my papers a tea wash, and then wait until I've got a really heavy bit, leave it sitting in there to soak, and I can use that as a flick. So you can do that as well if you don't have the tea dye in a spray. I'm just going to move all that out because I've never been known to spray in just one spot. And I don't want to spray. I like these as a spray, and I can do lots of wonderful backgrounds. But what I like to do is undo my container and just drop this onto it. Okay, so I will pick up more. I want some big ones. Look at that. Now, what I also tend to do, and some things are different than others, is I will blot them straight away. If I don't want them to spread out too much. Some papers, they will stay on there depending on the paper. As this is just normal copy paper, it will spread out. I don't want them to spread too much. I want these as aged spots, mould spots, I suppose. You could do them with a green if you really want some mould spots. So all I'm doing is tapping that, and now each time you do this, it's going to be different. They will go into different areas. It's just as simple as that. Right, so we've got this now. Fold him, fold this one. It's already, because of that ink, it's starting to feel soft and supple. Okay, now because I've used distress ink, it reacts with water. And this is where things get fun for me. So just a little water bottle. I tend to have this on my table all the time so that I can mix it with inks, do all sorts of things. But I'm just going to spray a little bit of water just here. Then with my finger, okay, and I'm going to rub that. Because this should be worn, and I'm going to take back a couple of layers, okay, like so. So I've taken off the print in places. So you can see with this one, I've taken it off up here. I've really taken it off around the corner because that's where the corner is. So it's just a little bit of water, and you're just going to work it. Use your finger just to start taking away some paper. It gives it a lovely curl. Now you can also, I normally use this nail, and I've broken this nail, so I'm going to use the second nail. And you can just work your fingernail or scissors if you want to do scissors. I probably wouldn't use a distressing tool because that will give you too much of that wonderful distressed look. So like a distressing tool, Tim Holtz has a round one. Let's just find paper. Look, this is just normal copy paper. If I use a distress tool, what it gives me is that. And you run the risk of it ripping right through on copy paper. I don't want that. I just want a light. So I'm just going to wear my edges away. So it is easier, I find, with my fingernail. But you might want to use your scissors. If you want to use the distress tool, by all means. It's up to you the look that you want to finish this. Okay. Now, I want... put that in the water. What I do want, though, is these were the ends. So if I use a little bit of water, see how now what I'm doing is rubbing that end over so that it's really dog-eared and all the rest. You don't want it to look pristine. So I reckon this bit might have had a little bit on it as well. Keep thinking of your story. Might actually even take that bit away. What do you reckon? So we've lost that whole section now. Look at that. Okay. See how that's looking now? So it's worn down here. The other thing I will do, and which is what I tend to do, I like to put thumbprints in them. I know, whatever. But again, for me, it's a story. It's all about the story. Somebody would have been hanging on to that, like that. Well, who's to say their hands are always clean? My hands are never clean. So I'm going with my gathered twigs. I'll bring it over so you can see what I'm doing. All I'm doing, putting my thumb in it. Okay? And again, I would have hung on to it about there. So I'll put it down and then I'll just rub it back a little bit so that I've given myself a thumbprint. It's where I was hanging on to it. Now, you can do different colours with that. You can, I love, see, and I've just chucked it now in the brush corduroy, and I'm going up the side there, because that gives you a different look as well as your blending brushes or any of those sorts of things. Okay? So see how it's getting dirtier and grungier down there? Wait till this dries, and then I would probably, you know, it's not dry at the moment, but once this dries, I would do the same thing. How hard was that? Really, in all honesty, how hard was that? So for me, with my original one, and I'm just going to get rid of that water before I put my arm in it. So my original one, I also had my little one down here. Now this is just packing paper, okay? And again, I've folded it and scrunched it and all the rest, and then I've put a little bit of ink where all those folds are, okay? But I wanted a label on it. Again, all these labels are in TaylorMade journals. So here's a label. You can see how it's there, but it's not really there. So again, we'll go back with our antique linen, and we're just going to dab a little bit on. Okay, just a little bit, just to give it a slight colour. Now I've picked up my brush corduroy one. I'm just going to darken it up a little bit more. Okay. Now it's plain at the moment. I've popped some script and some numbers. So what I've got in here, let's have a look. In a stamp. So these are my Tim Holtz numbers and Witchcraft Do You Do. But these little ones, see these tiny little ones here, they are off stamp sets from Close to My Heart. I think, yeah, not maybe. Yeah, Close to My Heart. When you buy a stamp set of theirs, and you've got all the stamps and all the rest, there is a little code on there that is a stamp. And I've got to admit, they are my favourite parts because they're so tiny. And so when I want something real little, I'll just pull out one of these. That's all they are. So if I want something real little, let's just... Okay. And what we'll do is we'll stamp that on there. So I'll use Twilight. Sorry, there goes Bertha. Must be 10 o'clock. Put a little bit of ink on it. Turn it around the right way. And I want that to go in the number bit. Look at that. So I've got a number because that's what the chemist has written down. That's how many he's done for the day, or that's how many of these ones he's prescribed or handed out. So if he's got that one, he needs to have written some directions, as they call it in here. I'm just going to put that over there. So I've got script stamps, would have to be one of my favourites. But I've got a little one. See this? It's a little script stamp that doesn't actually mean anything. It's just very tiny cursive. So it gives you the illusion of writing without it actually being writing. Now I just need to remember which way up it goes. And so I can stamp something in here from that. And yes, it does go that way. I think we'll double check that one anyway. So I'm going to use a cornflower blue, which is the colour I used in this, because it reminded me of a faded writing. So I'm just going to put that down so that I can double check. You can see my very well worn. And I'm only going to hand stamp this. I'm not going to put it on a block. So I'm just going to, I'm going to get the tea dye that's all still sitting there that I didn't wipe up. That is now all over that stamp. All right. So I just want to check which way up this one goes. Not that it really matters. It goes that way. I'll just double check. No, it goes that way. All right, goes that way. Should have just looked back at my book. So this little bit here, so see, I'm just going to pick it up with my fingers. I'm going to sit it down on there with my fingers. Give it a little bit of a push, just so that I've got his writing on there. And so that way then we've got a vintaged label as well. It's not hard to do. If you are one of these beautifully talented people that can do calligraphy and or your cursive writing is beautiful, oh, imagine what you could do on these. I'm not. I need to rely on stamps. So that's this one. Nice and easy, as I said before. Okay, so here's our new one. Here's our old one. They're always going to be slightly different, but that's those ones. So let's have a look at one of these tickets. Now this time we'll use a coloured ticket. So this is, I don't know if it has a date, 1938 it says, September 4th to the 10th, 1938. Does that look, though, like it's been in someone's pocket or someone's back drawer since 1938? No. So we want to make it look like it has. So once again, the back we're going to just dirty up. So once again, I will start with my base, which is my antique linen. Now I use the oxide, by the way, for my antique linen because I find it's got a really good coverage because I always use it as a base. The rest of mine are the inks in the distress range. So now I've put down my antique linen and I've picked up my brush corduroy. And I'm just going back over it again. Right, I'm going to turn that over. It's got some lovely colours on the front. But what I'm going to do is put down this base again. Okay? Now, if you have one of these, let's say you don't have some distress inks, you've got even some archival inks, which are a permanent ink. These guys work a treat. You can do the same sort of thing and just go over it with that. Again, that's why I work on my glass mat, because I can wipe it off my glass mat, even though it's the permanent inks. So I'm just going to I'm going to make it dirtier there. Let's change it up completely. What else have we got in the archivals? Coffee, sepia. Let's go sepia, which will give us a different colour. It's a matter of just playing around. Don't be frightened. Don't be frightened with what you're doing. Have a play. You'd be surprised what you can get out with what you've got sitting around. Shoe polish. Use shoe polish if you don't have all these inks. There's lots of things you can use to make these look worn. So that's just with these brushes. I love those brushes for that sort of thing. Right, get rid of some of that. So I've got this. Again, I'm going to pop my tea stain on it because I really like the look of the way it... See how this one sits in? I don't know if you can. Hang on. It sits on top. I've got to dab that. Different, as I was saying before, different papers. So with this one, the tea stain sits on top longer. So I have a that's why I use it. See, it's all tea stain. So I will have a tendency to blot it on that. Otherwise, they stay in a large air bubble type thing. These ones, now these are a beautiful linen look. They have a slight texture to them, but they really stay on top with that. So unless I sit there, there's not enough there for them to run, and I didn't want them to run down the page anyway. I just wanted them as age spots. So I'm really liking the look of that now because it's looking dirtier. I'm going for my gathered twigs with my finger, giving it some finger spots. Going back to my water. See, that's why my hands are always like this, because this is what I do. I want to get rid of a corner here. Okay, roll that corner back like that. You can work your corners any which way you want. You can have them folded and sitting back. Because you've put the water on there now, your paper is nice and soft, and you've broken all the fibres in it, and it's easier to use. So now we want to just... Sorry if that squeaking is annoying you. Right, so there we go. Picked up a little bit there, and maybe a little bit on that corner. And maybe I want to give it a crease. Where I've given it a crease, I will always put a line in there with my ink, so that when you flatten it out, you know, you find something and it's old and it's been creased and it's been folded, and you pull it all out, and it's got lines where those creases were, because that's where it's picked up the dirt. So you can then pop it in your journal like that, or you can have it out like that and people can see that it was creased and it was folded. And just where that crease was, look at that. So that's where that crease was, and it's been sitting in the drawer, in the wallet, whatever else, and that keeps catching as far as I'm concerned. So when it opens out, we're like that. Just got to take a very quick cup of my coffee. Drink of my coffee. I've got a tickle coming, I can feel it. Okay, sorry. And I can feel it coming on. I've just got to get rid of it. So, and this is what I'm saying. They are so easy to do. There is no real thought or anything else. It's a matter of having fun, playing with it, and seeing how you can come up with something. So, these ones, for those of you that have got these books, or any... Sorry, that's that tickle. Or any of these ones that are coming out these days, or just some ephemera that you've purchased. It could be just one of your normal digital sheets. All right, so this is this big one. You look at it and you go, yep, I like it. And I could see me cutting it into different sections and all the rest. Right. So how about this time we start with the brushed corduroy as a base? And I'm only going to lightly go over, so you can see me just lightly, just so that I'm just touching the paper. This has this beautiful linen finish, this paper. All right, I don't want too much, but what I want to do now is that. Okay? I'm not chucking it out. I'm just making it look loved. I know that looks like an oxymoron, doesn't it? But yeah. So, I didn't do my other side. We better put some ink on that now, just so that it all matches in. Oh, look how it's picking up those creases now. Now, if you're not into crinkles, that's fine. Just iron it out. Sit it under a book for the night after you've done all this. It's then got that lovely look, but without the actual crinkles, which will thicken up your journal, I suppose, would be the best way to put it. So look at that. I love that. So now I'm going to go a bit more over the side. And you can hear me just literally, excuse me, tapping this. Where's this one? You know, you can hear the difference, right? So I'm literally just wiping over the top. I'm looking at it, working out where I want to go. Okay, so with this one, do try and remember to put your inks back in, your lids back on your inks occasionally. They're not as bad as glue, and you all know me that I never remember to put my lids back on my glue. I want to really grunge this one, so I'm going to head off with the gathered twigs, just because I can. Okay, so I'm going to go from the side, and I'm working with a little circular motion now. You can see on my mat, you can see the swirls. So I'm going to really grunge this one because I've got so many of these that I can do what I want with them. It's not as though I've only got one. And if it doesn't work out, what have I lost? 3 minutes of my time? So, you know, just have a play. Especially when we're using digital kits or things like that where we've got oodles. And if we muck it up, we can just... Hang on a moment, I've got a cough again, sorry. Oh, sorry. And if we muck it up, we can just grab another one, reprint it, do something else. It's when you're using the originals that we're hesitant to do, because if you muck something up, this has been an original. Sorry, coffee. This will be a short one today because I don't think my voice is going to hold for it. Okay, I'm going really dirty with this one. Right, what else could I do to that? So just bear with me. I've done all this with Distress ink. I'm going to move these guys. Oh, sorry. This will be a very quick one. All right, put some water on it. It's been done with the Distress inks. So it'll react to the water. Again, using my hands. So what I'm doing now is just blending all that in. Told you, I always use my hands. That's why when you see me and I go, oh, I'm sorry about my hands, and you see me on camera, it's because I've been playing around with stuff like this. So I've already now got my water on there, and it's starting to get soft as well. I've blended down my colours a little bit, and it's softening the paper. It's it's breaking up those fibres in the paper. See, that, I actually like that better. All right, there was the first one of those I did. That's that one. That's more me. That's a bit wishy-washy for me. Yet, I love that one. So, oh, sorry. I will go soon. I will go soon, I promise. I don't think my voice is going to hold out. Right. So, really, I can sit here and keep playing with this. I could play with this till the cows come home because I love doing stuff like this and seeing how I can make them look different. And, you know, let's pull out a fresh one of those. No, I'm going to have to go. Sorry, guys. Okay. Look at that. Now, by all means, this may be your look. And if that's your look, that's fine. We are all different. But if you want to make it look older and grungier, or just, you know, like, that's grungy. That's slightly used. That's new. 3 completely different looks for that one ticket, which is what suits me fine because I've got a book like that. Oh, excuse me. So that's that one. There's a ticket, and I've lost my other ticket. And my ticket, can you see all that? And here are my beautiful, beautiful little worm confections. What do you think? Are we happy with those? I hope you are. I'm sorry this is a short one. I'm going to have to pull pin on it because my voice is just about shot. So until next time, guys, happy crafting. Thank you all. Oh, yes, and thank you. I've just hit 2,000 subscribers, and I want to say my heart is just bursting, probably about as much as my throat at the moment. So thank you all. Much loved, much appreciated. Bye, guys.